All right, we are live. Welcome back, everyone. J Bone here for Smash This Podcast. Oh, folks, you better sit down and hang on. We are going to talk some old school because old school is cool again in the world of the NWA, the National Wrestling Alliance. Oh, I could have taken 3 pages of notes, but I condensed it all into one. And I'm going to try to be as descriptive as possible. You know how I do this here. If you are brand new to the channel, by all means, don't be afraid to smash that like button, smash that sub button if you're digging the content, and ring that bell for notifications so that you know when more of my content hits your screen. I have been waiting for this. Before I break this down, I just want to talk about this a little bit. This chapter, Sleeping Angels, what is up? Giving their opinion. This was great. I loved it. I loved it too, man. I did. I'm not gonna lie. I'm getting older. I got a little emotional during this show because I felt something. I felt something that I hadn't felt in a long time. And I felt it, don't get me wrong, I felt it last week with the AEW debut on TNT too. So don't get me wrong, that was just as awesome to me. The crowd, everyone giving 1,000%. And even though this was scaled down, this was in a little studio in Atlanta, Georgia, or some may call it Hotlanta. I may not be that cool to call it that, but I'll call it that once or twice. Hotlanta. Watching this show took me way back. And I mean way back when I was a kid, right before I started high school. I used to go across the street down the block to. Now this is me getting real here. This is not. There's no made up bullshit here. This is me getting 100% real with you guys. Me as a kid, Saturday mornings, going over to my best friend at the time, John Gilliard's house across the street, and we'd sit in his basement on the floor in front of his big floor. I don't know what they called those back in the day. The ones that sat on the floor, the big TVs. Forget the term. And that was right after the inception of cable. Cable was really a thing. I mean, that was really something back then. And we'd watch championship wrestling. And I forget what they called it back then. I think it was like WCW. We're talking like the summer of '88. So World Championship Wrestling or whatever they called it. Saturday mornings. And you'd see the Four Horsemen and Luger and Nikolai Volkov and Sting and all those guys. And watching this show took me back 30 plus years in my life to those weekends at my best friend's house, sitting on the floor, watching that wrestling. It was a different time back then. And I didn't think, and you can go on the WWE network if you got it, and you can go watch some of that classic stuff. I think it's on there. I know Thunder's on there. I know Nitro's on there. but this old school, raw, in your face, that up and close in the up close and personal in the studio, boom, right there, everything right there, happening within just inches of you. And the cameras, right there with the crowd, and you felt like you were there. And this, when I first heard that they were going to do that with this show, I'm not going to lie, it scared me a little bit. Not like scared me away from it, but I was like, oh man, that's really a ballsy move. Can they put wrestling in that studio setting and make it feel like back then? And then we got a preview of the show just within the last couple days. I forget when it dropped. And they showed kind of a behind the scenes, who was going to be involved. You got a sneak peek of some of the faces that are going to be involved in this. If you have not watched this first episode yet, I implore you, watch the preview. You'll be surprised to see what faces are coming. One of Wisconsin's greatest exports in the wrestling world. Oh, excuse me. Ken Anderson. Sandow. I don't know what they're going to call him on the show. Aaron Rex. He was known as Aaron Rex in Impact Wrestling. So I don't know what they're going to call him here. But I'm ecstatic that he's coming back to wrestling. Eddie Kingston. Homicide showed up on this one. Sorry, hang on, guys. I apologize. Let me silence this. One of the Total Nonstop Impact guys is like, hey, how was NWA? I'm like, I'm live talking about it right now. Sorry about that. So we'll see if the scumbag shows up in the chat. Man, this just felt, it felt authentic. It really did. And if you watched wrestling live back then, and I know I've got a younger base that watches me, not all. Some of my viewers are close to my age. I'm 45, so within the 30 to 40 year range, you might remember wrestling back then, depending on when you became a fan. But if there's that small niche of fans that did watch back then and you watch this now, man, you can't help but feel the passion and pardon the pun, but the power that this show brought. It really did. And for an old rocker like me, here I am wearing the crew shirt. The first thing you hear is Docking Into the Fire. And let me tell you, man, no one got more pumped than me watching those first, that opening promo, that opening cut scene, and hearing Into the Fire. I was just sitting here, just air drumming away, man. I was like, you gotta be kidding me. This is awesome. In a week, folks, when we had so many new shows and themes and season premieres of shows You had, the AWA premiere last week with their theme from Ruckus. Became a fan of his, overnight. I dug the new theme. Raw had a new theme. Didn't watch that trash last night, I can tell you though. Oh, um, but they got a new theme, Scarlet. I love the theme. Scarlet, legendary, great song. Great song. Heard it on the radio a bunch. SmackDown's got an old school theme. ACDC. And did not think that of all these wrestling shows, the theme that would practically get me out of my seat and just fired up like no other theme, the NWA theme, Into the Fire by Dokken. Man, that just sent me on a trip, man. Just jump in your friggin' DeLorean and go, man. You're there, boom. Old school wrestling, back in the 80s, in the studio, couple hundred people. Huge compliment, and we'll talk about the matches. I'm just gonna kind of jump all over here because there's little things pop in my head. I gotta get them out. That crowd. You can watch like the NXT crowd in the Full Sail University crowd that they're going live every week. They're giving it everything they got. But that show, it's going to sound like the biggest insult, but it's not meant as an insult. It's a comparison, okay? And you'll probably laugh at this. You might not, whatever. The NXT Full Sail crowd right now feels like NWA from 15 years ago. Okay? That's what it feels like. That's what it sounds like. This crowd in this studio sounds like twice as many people. I don't know how they mic'd them. I don't know what technology they're using. But this crowd, which is probably not half. Yes, Mr. Anderson was there. Just keep watching. Like I said, watch that intro, the behind the scenes intro that they put on their YouTube channel. Watch that and watch the first episode. And you'll see some faces, some faces that will surprise you. Now, what the hell was I saying? That crowd that is like probably not even half of what the NXT crowd is sounded like it was twice, 3 times the amount. That crowd was that sounded like a crowd that has been waiting forever for the NWA to come back to this setting. It was an older crowd. But if you look carefully, there were fathers like me with little kids with them. Little boys, little girls, probably too. I saw a couple little boys in the crowd. I didn't really look that closely, but you can hear them. You heard every single little reaction. Pop, scream, yell. And that's something that, like I said, I don't know how they did it. That's something that made it sound unique. And maybe it's just these earbuds. And these are not $350 earbuds, let me tell you. These are Five Below earbuds. I just got these to kind of replace my other ones I like the wraparound ones, they just sit a little nicer. You don't have to worry about them popping out. Beat Down Crew, yo, what is up? Mr. Fretz is here. Demon Rocks, what is up, guys? I'm going to check this out sometime. You should. I am telling you, Tuesday nights are fire. Oh my goodness. Between this coming on, okay, you can't, okay, people say, man, I can't sit through 3 hours of Raw. Okay. Now I got a challenge for you. Now it's going to be a bit of a challenge for me too. I'm not going to lie. But I got a challenge for you. All right? Let's break this down. For me, this is my time slot. I don't know what, wherever you are, but it's 5 o'clock here. NWA comes on. Boom, 1 hour. Next hour, jump on over to AEW. Dark, brand new, debuted after this one. The timing was perfect. I haven't watched it yet. I'm going to check it out. Arlo, what is up? What is... I watched this. I watched 10 minutes of it and turned it off. As soon as Lana got into bed with Bobby Lashley, I turned it off. And don't turn that into a racist thing. That is not a racist thing, okay? It's not meant to be a racist thing. But if that's how you're going to start your show, is Lana just jumping into bed with random guys? Really? And they completely ignored everything about Hell in a Cell from the night before. Unpurposely, of course. Because that ending was trash. Throw it out the window. Get a ticket. Why? Because it was trash. Oh, right. Back to NWA. Gave that show enough time. So, 5 o'clock, boom. NWA, in your face. This was awesome. Next hour, 6 o'clock, AEW Dark. It's their dark show from the stuff that they didn't air from their 2 hours live. Okay? Which I guarantee is going to be tremendous. And if you survive that, coming up later in October, boom, 7 to 9. Impact Wrestling. Now, I don't know about you, but man, my Tuesdays are full. Oh my goodness. Oh, 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 oh. This fall is going to be crazy. So between Tuesdays and Wednesdays, I'm set. I'm good. I don't need anything else. Yes, I watch MLW. I'm way behind. I'm like 2 months behind on MLW. I want to get back to reviewing it. I just ask for your patience. I haven't done it in a long time. I've been picking and choosing and prioritizing, and it just hasn't been on my priority list. And I apologize, because it is a damn good show. And there's a lot of shit that I missed that I want to catch up on. Am I going to review everything that I missed? No, I'm going to start within the next week or two. I know I've been saying that for a while, but just be patient, folks. I'm trying, all right? But this was a priority. As soon as I heard that this was going on, this is absolutely a priority. I have been waiting. This last 2 years, it has been very interesting to watch the growth. Even though it was slow, the growth of the NWA. And I'll admit, I fell off a little bit. I was kind of like, I don't know. I'm not feeling it. In the beginning, I was, boom, right there, every episode. And especially leading up to All In, I was there live. That was huge for the NWA Championship. That was awesome. And then I pulled back a little bit for a while. But man, I am, pardon the pun, all in. I am all in again. I am so stoked for this. And like I said, this first episode, I was really curious to see how it was going to feel, look, sound, everything. Man, boom. It was in your face. It was loud. The action was awesome. The promos were old school. And they were short but sweet. There was no 20-minute long promos. Boom, you got an hour. You got to pack. You know what it felt like? You know what it felt like, folks? It felt like they packed 2 hours into 1 hour. That's what it felt like. But I mean that as a compliment. It was like, holy crap, that was an hour? felt like too. There was so much stuff, but it felt awesome because it was loud and it was great. All right, so let's talk. Let's break this down a little because I'm already 20 minutes into this review and I haven't touched any details yet. I did a little bit. We talked about the intro, Into the Fire. Boom, that was for an old rocker like me, man, that hit me. That was awesome. So, from Atlanta, Georgia, we got your commentators introducing this brand in the studio presence. We got Jim Cornette and Joe Galli. Now, Joe Galli, I believe, is straight out of the Hollywood, California Championship Wrestling. I believe he's on there as well as David Marquez was your ring announcer and interviewer. So he had kind of a twofold job there. And I know, trust me, I know sometimes you say the words Jim Cornette and people are either there's not a lot of medium. There's not a lot of medium. You either love him or hate him. And I take him in small doses. Like this, it's fine. I'm good with it. Because his passion and his expertise that he brought to this brand, I was good with. Like, I liked him on MLW. I don't think he's going to be on MLW much longer. I think Court's moving some stuff around, bringing in some new faces. And that brand is growing. That brand is growing. Let me tell you, Tony Schiavone is back in the mix for a good portion of the stuff, from what I could tell. I watched the last episode. It was really good. Aries and Brian Pillman Jr. Whew. Hot match. Really good. Love Aries. David's out of Championship Wrestling from Hollywood. Yeah, there you go. That's what it's called. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, he's the one that's been in the ring for the interviews and stuff like that. I haven't watched a lot of those episodes, but I've seen enough through the NWA content that I recognize a few faces. Another announcer from that, and I can't think of his name, but he just got hired by NXT. So congrats to him. Just, I don't know if I mentioned that on here before, but I did recognize that he did just get hired. So he's going to get put somewhere, I'm not sure where. We'll see. Honestly, I'd like to see him get put with Mauro Ranallo and see Nigel McGuinness get put on the UK stuff, I think that'd be a good branding. That's just me. You hate Jim Cornette. Well, I get that. I know a lot of people can't stand him. But when he's ringside, calling the action and throwing his old school comparisons, breakdowns, calling the action with this is gonna take me a while to get used to these names. Joe Galli. It was good. It was good, and like I said, I'm a guy that takes Cornette in small doses. And for this episode, I felt like it was a good mix. Okay. So even if you can't stand him, give him a chance on here. Okay. Because I know everybody watches different stuff. So if you could put it this way, if you could stand him on MLW, you'll dig him here. Because he even felt even more excited about this product than this first show. Oh my goodness. I mean, everyone brought it. Seriously, everyone seriously brought it. They introduced the champ, comes out with Camille. And man, props to Nick Aldis. Nick through and through. Promo, wrestling, end of the show. Nick, I'm sold on Nick. I've been back and forth with it, kind of like, I don't know, But man, let me tell you something. The highest compliment you could pay this guy. Look at what he's done. Corgan's taken this brand out of the ashes lifted it up, put Nick's face on it, and has toured it literally around the world for the last 2 years, 2.5, whatever it's been, 2.5 years. And he's stuck with it. He's stuck with it. He could have bailed after a half a year, could have been like, God, I don't know. Thank you, but no thank you. No. This man has stuck with it and made it his own. And he is still on top. Now, granted, he lost the championship for a while when Cody was there, and that was a great piece of storytelling from last summer, fall, whatever that was, September-ish. So just a little over a year ago. That was tremendous. And I was a part of that. And to be a part of that really just, man, there aren't a lot of things that happened last year that made me feel like you were really part of wrestling, that you enjoyed it that much. Being there and watching that take place and listening to that crowd react to everything, man, that was just unbelievable. So to watch Nick Aldis get it back, stick with it, and help debut this brand, even though it's on YouTube. I know a lot of people are going to shit on that. You know what? They got to start somewhere. They maybe don't have the resources and the billionaire backing like a Tony Khan or something like that. That's not a knock on NWA. I'm just saying they're lucky, man. They had the resources. They had the money. Within a very short period of time, could put that product on cable TV in front of X amount of people that quickly. Corgan couldn't do that, He doesn't have a Tony Khan in his pocket. He's doing what he can. But you know what? With what he's got and what he's doing with it, I think he's doing a damn good job so far. This isn't an overnight sensation by any means. This is a slow, step by step. Putting on those shoes that Corgan's got on. Man, they're heavy shoes. And if you've been walking with him along the way, you know what it's felt like. You had to be patient as a wrestling fan if you're going to invest your time and energy and money and whatever into the NWA. And if you've come along this far, man, and you want to watch it go from here, you are in for a hell of a ride. Let's jump back in the chat real quick before we break down these matches. Show is crap. I'm assuming you mean Raw. Brahm is in the NWA. Yes, he is. All right, let me go up here. Mr. Kennedy, yes. Ricky Morton still rocking the mullet. Yeah, they are. Unbelievable. Those guys still kicking ass. That is passion. Isn't that something? Jimmy Cricket? What? For a quick drop in, heading to work. By the way, I love the Motley Crue shirt. Oh, thank you. Yes, this is from their last tour. The hell is it called? It's all gotta end sometime tour, whatever the hell they call it. All bad things must come to an end. Shit show last night. Josephus, you better watch out. He can wrestle, and he reminds me of Bruiser Brody. Yeah, he's got an old school look, doesn't he? Doesn't he? We'll get to that. And the photos and videos Rusev got on Twitter. Oh, man, yeah. I mean, geez, I can't even imagine, This is crazy. Saturday Night Super Fight, FG, and full gear. Yeah. Also got the new Rise 18 and GCW. Hey, you're getting all the stuff, aren't you? Awesome. About that MMA guy, Green, Dominic Guarini. I got to rewatch the episode. I don't remember exactly what he did. I think I tuned out for a bit. I'm going to rewatch it. But I'll try to bring the MLW reviews back next week. Eric, what is up? All right, let's talk about these matches. So they start out here with some tag team action. The Dawsons, now, mind you, these are faces, like over half of the faces on this show are faces I never seen before. Okay? But don't let that scare you from watching this, because if you just love old school wrestling and really just, instead of looking for stuff to be negative about and just take it for what it is, a stripped down studio, these guys in the ring cutting a few minute promos, kicking ass in your face, you're going to love this. You are going to love this. There's not a lot of flash and there's not a lot of glam. There's no pyro, there's no lasers, there's no fire. The fire is what every single person on this show brought. I could say that. No bullshit. That is the truth. We have the Dawsons versus, let me see if I get these names right, Sal Renaro and Billy Buck. Oh, you can tell they're down south. The Dawsons, now I wouldn't say this was a total squash match, but it was pretty close to a squash match. But that's okay. They're taking baby steps. They're introducing these people, the new faces. They're like, okay, so the Dawsons are kicking ass, made short work of these guys, and then they cut a promo afterwards. That's what also felt incredibly old school and awesome about this show. The little promos that they cut after the match when they're huffing and they're puffing and they got the mic and they're fired up and they're still going on adrenaline from being in that ring for 10 minutes or whatever it's been, going 100 miles an hour. And these guys cutting passionate promos. Man, how long has it been since we've felt that feeling? It's been a while. It's back. It is back, folks. So the Dawsons look like they're going to be around for a while, and they are gunning for those tag team championships down the road, let me tell you. Next, we got one of my favorites on this brand. So happy he picked this brand. And I think, and I'll say it again, I think it surprised a lot of people. I know it surprised me. Mr. Eli Drake. Man, so glad. Cuts a promo, gets in the ring with Caleb Conley. Good to see him a part of this brand too. Formerly of Impact Wrestling. And, he kind of came into Impact Wrestling in a very fragile part of the company, going between the TNA, Global Force Wrestling, Impact Wrestling. And it's been a pretty firm brand over the course of the last 2.5 years, But Caleb Conley came in at that time, And they let him go. They let his contract run out for whatever reason. But he's here. And he's a damn good talent. Now, I thought I read somewhere that Caleb Conley was going to join NXT. I might have just confused that with a bunch of the other names that decided to, let their contracts run out with Impact Wrestling and try to go for greener pastures. Maybe he wasn't. But I know there was a bunch of them that did. But I guess Caleb Conley is in NWA now. And he looked like $1 million with Eli Drake. But he came up short. And after this match, Josephus, oh my goodness, he is screaming for Tim Storm. He is just screaming mad, screaming all the hair. Ooh, he didn't have a hair on his chest. He screamed all the hair off his chest. He's growing his hair back, though. It's not like it was a couple years ago in the inception of this chapter of NWA. When that was like one of the biggest starting feuds was Tim Storm versus Josephus. I like that feud. It was good. It felt old school. Well, Josephus is in this inception of NWA still. And he is screaming for Tim Storm. But he doesn't get Tim Storm. He gets a different Storm. He gets James Storm. And so, on and off throughout the show, they're brawling, they're arguing, they're scrapping. So this is obviously a feud that's going to be going. Oh, they did have a short match, didn't they? I'm going through my notes here. I apologize. Hits him with the last call. Makes short work of Josephus. You know, for all that running of his mouth, Josephus, man, he didn't last too long against James Storm. But that was interesting, seeing those two go round and round in this first episode. The wild card. And it was good to see that they gave this team a name. If they did call them this before within the last month, couple weeks, whatever, I missed it. Because this is a brand new team to me. I did see them get the championship. I did watch that match on their YouTube channel. But Tom Latimer, excuse me, Thomas Latimer, a.k.a. Brahm, if you're familiar with the old TNA name. Or if you want to go back further than that, part of the old school, where is it around here? It's up on the wall. Oh, it's way over there up on the wall. I'm not going to bring it down now. The Ascension, the first inception of the Ascension. Say that 10 times real quick. Good to see him on here with Royce Isaacs. Now, I'm familiar with Royce Isaacs from Ring Warriors. He was part of a different tag team, and I was frantically looking through my notes this afternoon, was trying to find some of my reviews for Ring Warriors. Could not find it. Could not find my notes. But he was on there. You know, he's out of the Vegas scene, the West Coast scene. Damn good. Damn good. I feel like these two really do have a chemistry, even though they haven't been together for a very long time. So, yeah, good to see them representing the NWA as the tag team champs. Man, and those tag team championship belts, that's one thing I will say, is the NWA has some good-looking old-school belts. They really do. They may not be as flashy as those brand new ones from, from the AEW, but man, old school is cool. It is. So they face a team of Mims and Danny White. Makes short work of them, but they really, like I said, they really cut the ring in half. They really cut the ring in half, limb work, just good tag team wrestling. You know, and these matches weren't super long, but they were really cramming a lot of stuff into this first episode. So it was a good match. Champs win. It was a non-title match. Titles were not on the line. And then they're cutting a promo at the end of the match, or after the end of the match. And Eddie Kingston shows up. Eddie effing Kingston. Now, after his run in Impact Wrestling, which is like the biggest run that I've seen of him in his career, I know he's been all over the place. Seen him in Ring of Honor. He just did a stint in, I don't know if he's still doing stuff in Evolve or if he's done there or what. Podcast cohort of mine, Trent's, has been working with him on and off in Chicago for years. So yeah, interesting. He is an NWA now, and he did not come alone, folks. No, he showed up with someone that he has been seen with on and off in the past as well, Homicide. Homicide is in the NWA, folks. Talk about an edgy start to this classic old school brand. Man, it doesn't get any more edgy than that, than seeing these two guys that I've seen tag on and off for like the last, oh gosh, I'd say almost 10 years, not quite. That I mean, I know they've been around longer than that. But that what I've seen, like my first seeing them together was in Ring of Honor like 2013, 2014 ish. And they came out with those masks. They just didn't last very long. Just when I was starting to really dig that team, you know. So yeah, and let me tell you, someone that's good at cutting promos, Eddie Kingston, primo. Great to see him here. And then they quick cuts off because they hear some noise in the background. James Storm is still brawling with Josephus. Security and producers are trying to break up this action, which leads to a, like I said, short but sweet match. Your national champ makes short work of Josephus. Josephus runs at him. Boom. Last call. 1, 2, 3. That's it. James Storm hops out of the ring, jumps in Cornette's face, grabs a headset, says, I want you to tell everybody that we're in the eye of the storm. And to me, that means that James Storm is going to be a prominent part of this show going forward. I think that's pretty damn cool. I like it. Tag team champions in Jersey Pro Wrestling. Oh, yeah. See, they've been everywhere. You know, East Coast, down south now, all over the place. How is the scum-in-law and your daughter's honeymoon going? It's not happening. It's not happening. We're going to be live with him later tonight. You can tune in and we'll talk a little bit about that, I'm sure, at some point. We're going to keep going here. That scumbag. No. Love Kyle. But no. Even though Cassie just got her license today, she is not driving to New York. We'll see how Kyle takes that news later tonight. All right, back to the NWA Power Hour. We get a little preview of next week. They say that Allison Kay is going to be in the house. She will be on next week's episode, the NWA Women's Champion. Pinky's up. I believe that's her deal. Then we get a nice little quick few-minute history of where we've seen the 10 pounds of gold go from Tim Storm to Nick Aldis around the world and where it is right now. Nice little refresher, you know, just in case you're not too familiar with Tim Storm. Talk about old school. Man, that Tim Storm, he really is something. If you've watched the NWA over the course of the last 2.5 years, I guarantee you fell in love with Tim Storm. I don't mean in a weird way. I'm saying as a fan. Because, man, even though the man is up there in age, in his 50s now, 50, when he started this whole thing, he was 50, 51, now 53. Man, the guy is such a good worker. I mean, I really enjoy his stuff. Critical Sting is in the house. What is up? NWA, AEW, Dark Impact Wrestling. Jesus Christ. Jiminy Christmas. Yes, absolutely. It's like I said at the beginning. Tuesdays are fire. So like I said, we get a little history of the 10 pounds of gold. History of Tim Storm. Nice promo. And it leads into our main event championship match for this first inaugural episode of NWA Power. Can't help but have a big E in your head saying power, though. Feel the power. You know, it's like, man, Big E should really be a part of this brand. He could come out here every week and say that, right? I don't know. I would like that. Love Big E. We have Nick Aldis, the NWA champ, coming out with Camille defending against Tim Storm. Now, the stip here. The stip here is if Tim Storm wins, he's NWA champ. If Tim Storm loses this match, he cannot challenge anyone for the NWA championship ever again. He must leave that hunt. And he's been in the hunt over the last couple of years on and off, which has been interesting. But passing it on to someone maybe a little younger, a little more spry, like Nick Aldis, that can't be easy for a guy like Tim Storm. Like he said in that promo leading up to this match, he's like, man, you being on top of that mountain, you don't want to get off. You're enjoying the ride. No matter how big the NWA was at the time, he held it for almost 400 days, just over or just under 400 days. And he held it with class in a time when not a lot of people were paying attention to the NWA. But I feel like it's going to be slowly on the rise again, through this show. It's going to be great. So they put on what I feel was a good headlining match. Really told the story. Even got Camille involved a little bit. And Nick Aldis played two parts here, man. He really put over the former champ, Tim Storm. Gave him props, gave him respect at the end after he defeated him. But then turned that switch, and when Joe Galley tried getting thoughts from Camille, who took a bump and got in the way, you could say. Took a clothesline from Big Nick Aldis. Oh, excuse me. Nick Aldis jumped in front of the mic and was like, she's fine. You don't need to hear her thoughts. So and that felt like old school heel. Like back in the day, the valets were there at ringside. They didn't do a whole lot back then. Some got involved, but most of the time they were just on the arm and they were there just to be there, make the champ look good or whatever, And so she's a woman of few words, but we'll see how long that lasts with Nick Aldis. I believe this is going to be a separate story all on its own to tell, and I can't wait to see it. So let's jump back in the chat here just for a minute before we wrap this puppy up. I got to finish watching Impact Wrestling. The Total Nonstop Impact guys, including myself, we're going to go live later tonight. It'll be going on just after 10 o'clock is what we're shooting for, between 10 and 10:30. So make sure you tune in for that. Can we see more of the old TNA guys? Well, just stick around. You're gonna see a few. And they were some of my old favorites, so I can't wait to see how they are in this brand. Critical Sting says, I may not watch NWA that much, but you can bet your ass I'm going to catch Eli Drake promos, LOL. But Minoru Suzuki, Tim Storm, Ken Shamrock, Liger, Dustin Rhodes are all still wrestling at 50 plus. How? They're taking care of themselves. Between the combination of that and passion. Undertaker. Yeah, you can put him in there, in that category, I guess. Obviously on a different stage, but yes, he is there. Rock and Roll Express, my God, can still go in the ring. Yeah, man. Ricky still got a school down south, yeah. I was talking about people who are still good. Oops. Ooh, throwing some shade on a dead man. No, I hear you. Everyone's got their own opinions. It's all good. It's all good. Well, thanks for tuning in for this review of the inaugural debut of Power on the NWA channel right here on Smash This Podcast. Nice little crowd here. Appreciate it. Suki, the type of wrestler that looks like when you get in the ring, he wants to kill you. Oh, yeah. He always wants to kill his opponent. It's crazy. NWA, MLW, and AEW old school wrestling. I love it. Me too, man. Me too. You know, I'm just living in the moment, match by match here. You know, because like, may not remember, you know, all the stuff that happened a few weeks ago, but man, I will review it, watch it, and review it to the best of my ability right here on Smash This Podcast. And I hope you tune in and enjoy the journey with me, because man, what a crazy year. This past year has just been absolutely insane. New wrestling, brands all over the place, so much action going on. Got wrestling up the wazoo. A little something for everyone, depending on your taste. You know, it really is a great time to be a wrestling fan. I can't say that enough times. And don't forget, folks, to smash that like button and smash that sub button and ring that bell for notifications to let you know when more of my content hits your screen. We'll be back later tonight, folks. Take care.